And this is chapter 6 of the Constitution. The loophole. Do we have a lacuna in the chapter 6 of the Constitution where we have all these roaches crouching in, right? And I think before we took a short break, we had Balozi. Yeah. These roaches which are crouching in through chapter 6 of the Constitution, do we have a lacuna there? The chapter 6 of the Constitution, we're talking about the efficaciousness of chapter 6 of the Constitution itself. What do you have to say?
Well, the loophole, there is no loophole if you ask me.
There's no loophole?
Because, like you said, even with Article 80 about legislation, there is sufficient law in good time to be used by the relevant agencies or institutions to see to it that people with integrity issues are dealt with continuously and in good time. It should not be seen that there is a loophole out there. The loophole is only that, maybe the only loophole you can talk about is that there is too much delay in dealing with these issues, and dealing with them at the last minute is giving people false hope that chapter 6 is there. But chapter 6 is there. It is in itself very good as it is enacted in the Constitution. But what about the institutions that are supposed to make it work? That is the question. And if the loophole, if there's any loophole, like I can see in that very good cartoon out there, then it is in the failure of the relevant institutions to do what they are supposed to do. And what they are supposed to do needs to be continuous, not when there are elections, not when there is an interview about, for public officers in National Assembly or in Parliament, not when these issues come up. It should be something continuous so that the Constitution is given the voice that it's supposed to have in serving the people. Right. That would be my view.
All right. Let's hear from Professor.
And I want to say this because I want to leave. I think I just want to follow up on what Shem said about the role of Parliament in ensuring that the general principles of the Constitution are enacted into law. And I want to give you an example. Article 9 of the Constitution deals with state and religion, national symbols, and national holidays. And then 9.5 say, Parliament may enact legislation prescribing other public holidays and providing for observance of public holidays.
Yes.
I don't believe Parliament has done this. And the reason why I don't believe Parliament has done this, because on Madaraka Day, we saw what happened in Jerry. The leaders of NASA, who had gone there to celebrate the national day like Madaraka, were not recognized, were not given the opportunity to speak. And this same constitution says that we are a multi-party democracy. So that principle, being a multi-party democracy, should be observed in national holidays. And I think what we should do, although the Deputy Speaker and myself will not be in the Senate, no, he will be in the Senate because he's running for Senate again. I'm sure you'll be there. And
of course, I'll be there.
I'm sure you'll be there because I was very disappointed when somebody misbehaved in over there.
Votes, you mean
votes, sure. You will be there. But I would like to tell Gambi that one of the things that the Senate and the National Assembly should do is to enact a law on how national and public holidays should be observed in line with the Constitution. Another thing I'd like to say, something happened to me in Kisumu. After presenting my nomination papers, we are going around the town thanking people. Then we arrive at a place, I come in Kondele, I come out to speak to the public, and the public was peaceful. And all of a sudden somebody throws tear gas for no reason whatsoever. Now,
so,
surely,
somebody being who?
I think it was the
police?
The APs. The APs who were escorting us. And I've been very polite. I've tried to pursue this thing with the police authorities in Kisumu. Some said, look, we really don't know who it was. We think it was... but the fact is that the state institutions, especially those concerned with security, must also observe the Constitution and the rights of citizens. For example, a day like that, or we presenting our papers, it's a very sacred day in the life of the IBC. And everything should be done so that political rights, the integrity of the electoral process is maintained. Integrity is not just about people stealing money from government or misusing public offices. But even then, the misuse of public office by security agencies on a day like that, it's an issue of integrity. So I really think that it is an all-round thing. If we're going to talk about integrity, we need to develop and mature as a democracy and realize that if this constitution is very good because it gives Parliament a lot of leeway to enact into law principles in these constitutions. I don't think the constitution, even chapter 6, is a problem. Sure. The problem is to enact appropriate law and to ensure that Kenyan citizens and institutions governance observe the Constitution, following both the Constitution and the laws enacted.
Thank you. All right, Prof, before you go, because I think also you should comment on this, this particular development that we have also on the front page of a Star. Uhuru is planning a parallel result transmission Jubilee to set up tallying centers in all 47 counties. Uhuru Ruto team worried about voter apathy, targets large youth turnout, and this story is well fleshed out on page 4 and 5. What is your take? Because also, just a moment, I read, I think we're tucked away also on page 2 of a Star, is what they're saying that, I just read it for you, says that it is now obvious, quote unquote, it is now obvious the opposition has no formula for winning because they have no agenda, no candidate. They want to have a shortcut to win by planning to establish a parallel tallying center to announce results for themselves as winners. Ruto chided them in April before Raila was unveiled as the torchbearer. This is tucked away on page 2 of a Star.
The thing is, he shot himself.
So are they yes.
No, we knew that he shot himself in the foot at that point in time. He
Yes.
did shoot himself in the foot. And this headline now shows that he actually shot himself in the foot because he now realizes that they themselves need parallel voting, parallel results transmission and tallying centers. There's nothing unconstitutional, nothing illegal about having transmission centers, provided you don't use them to sabotage the electoral process. That's very important. If you then you try to use it by diverting IEBC data, taking it to your tallying center, then transmitting it back to IEBC as the results of the election, because that's criminal. Yeah. But if you just use it to get the votes and count them and make sure that this is what is coming from the polling station, there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, the law says that the votes should be counted at the polling station. That is what you're going to tally. Mm-hmm. Have your agents at the polling station. Let them transmit you the results from the polling station. You can tally that. You can later ask whether they correspond with what IBC has. But in the final analysis, the body that is going to announce the results legally is the IBC. That is the stand. But originally, when they were saying that NASA cannot have a parallel tallying center, they were shooting themselves in the foot. And I think now they have examined the law. They examined what the IBC may finally say. And they said, even we ourselves are going to do it. We are going to do it much better. We are going to have them at county level, which is an improvement, a tremendous improvement on their original stand, which was, to me, was absolutely ridiculous. Because parallel tallying results of parallel tallying center is something that's accepted in all democracies. And we only hope that it's not used to sabotage the electoral process. But you see, Jubilee is used to all these criminal activities, sabotaging also state agencies, that we must watch them very carefully when they're doing that. I mean, they were thinking that when we're doing ours, we had criminal intentions. We didn't.
Thank you.
But now, because they fear that we have criminal intentions, we must also expect realize that they may have criminal intentions. We have to watch them very carefully.
All right, thank you. So
Kambi knows what I'm talking about.
Maybe Professor should wait and let's ventilate that issue before he leaves, because it's an interesting issue that is raised several interesting issues.
Yes. Yes.
But on the issue of tallying, for instance, if parallel means that you have your own center, like during the Jubilee nominations in Muranga, I had my own, we were doing our own tally.
Sure. I did my own center too.
We did our own tally, and I knew I had won, for instance. But I was not going to announce the final results because there was a returning officer in the county, Muranga County returning officer. If that's what it means.
But Prof, you did announce your own result, didn't you?
No. The returning officer announced it. I was not even there, by the way. And you must understand.
These allegations that we are telling you.
I wasn't there, but people say I was not there. You see, I've told people, and nobody has challenged me. There are 3 county tallying centers in Kisumu County. There's Tomboya Labor College, which was not open to the IBC. There was Aga Khan, which was a tallying center for Kisumu Central constituency. There was Turiboro.
All right.
So the returning officer chose to do it in Turiboro. It's nothing to do with me.
Thank you.
I mean, my critics at Open have been saying, I kept quiet because I said, this is silly. Just check the facts.
All right,
I don't like being superfluous about what I'm saying.
All right, thank you. Balozi just finished.
No, I was just saying that if by parallel tallying center one means that you have your own center, and this is a common thing, that you are following polling station by polling station, so that you have a very good idea of how you're doing.
Exactly.
And then so that you can also now question it, because at every polling station, there is that form that is completed by the returning officer and then signed by the agents, right? So at the end, it's a question of addition, you know, of all those results. So if personally I found that I had 1,000 votes, for instance, in this polling station, and the final tally that comes that I had 500 votes, then I have a basis to question that.
Yes.
But the parallel tallying center doesn't mean that you have a right to announce your own votes, but you can have a basis to contest.
All right.
You know, to contest the final results that are announced by the returning officer.
All right.
That's how I would take it myself.
Honorable Kiro, this is now borrowed from NASA, perfected by Jubilee.
Well, I think we're borrowing from the Constitution, because Article 86 is very clear. On B, it is clear that the results are supposed to be announced at the polling station upon counting and confirmation, and they are supposed to be tallied by the returning officer, who happens to be at the constituency level. And you see, once those results...
Prof, thank you, and have a lovely day.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Good.
And once the results are announced, they are public information. In fact, they are supposed to pin it outside the primary school if it is a primary school, to pin so and so go this, so and so go this, and that is supposed to be public knowledge. And what we are saying as NASA is that we are going to take a WhatsApp, we are going to take a photo of that information, then we relay to our tallying center somewhere located within Nairobi. And these officers are not us. These are officers of the IEBC. The ones at the polling station, and the man or woman at the constituency level is the returning officer. And from 290 constituencies, we will have known how is our performance against the performance of our competition. So we're actually sticking with the Constitution, and I think our brothers and sisters on the other side are also doing the same. So I don't see any contestation as far as that is concerned.
All right. Dr. Shemochoto.
Debal, I'm glad Professor brought this issue, because two major things happened in the past week. One, of course, we celebrated Madaraka Day, and two, of course, the launch of the SGR, perhaps the biggest ever infrastructure for this region, not just Kenya, since independence. In terms of Article 86, and I think we experienced this when there was the hot debate about electronic backup and manual. I think sometimes we miss the point. Ultimately, it was settled that no system in the world doesn't have a manual backup, even though we don't say it loudly. But that's what the conclusion that the country came to. The same is now coming out to Article 86 of tallying at the polling center. I've been searching for the word final. It doesn't exist in that article at all. Nothing in law in the Constitution says those tallying by the returning officer are final. And I think the crafters of the Constitution were very wise in this regard. How about if a returning officer in some village, say in Kiambu or in Kisumu, at gunpoint is told, announce this result? He would announce them. Would we make them final? The fact is, no, if it's being done at gunpoint. But you'd have no way of stopping that happening. Yes. So the fact that we talk of the tallying at the polling centers, let's also be certain that nothing in law says that's the final. The final, as again Professor was saying, would come from the IBC. I would want to believe the chair of the commission. But having said that, I think I share the concern that the leader of the opposition wasn't acknowledged in Nyeri during Madaraka. That's a solemn celebration, although it was a state function, at a bare minimum. In fact, for me, the best way to unite Kenya, and allow me for the benefit of, the fear of repeating myself, the best that could happen to unify this country is for NASA to get 25 or 30% of the vote in central Kenya, and Jubilee gets 25, 30% of the vote in Lower Nyanza. That's the best way, in my view, to unite the country. So I think it was unfortunate the advisors and the handlers of the program, the leader of the opposition party would have been allowed to speak. But perhaps part of the blame still, in my view, also comes to the assembly. And I'm most alive to the fact that Parliament, in any life, can only do so much in 5 years. But clarity in terms of how do we handle national holidays, how do we handle our national heroes who are our heroes, and so on. We need some little more clarity from the assembly on this.
All right. Okay, Alice.
On the Tallying Center, I think the word parallel should be completely omitted and deleted from this conversation or from the national conversation, because they cannot be parallel. You know, when you talk of parallel, that's a competition with the lawful institution that is supposed to actually handle and manage, conduct elections. So I think various groups, parties can have their tallying centers, but they cannot announce to the public as if it is a big thing or as if it is the public's business. The public is interested in the results that will be announced and managed by the Electoral Commission. And that's where we are saying we need integrity there, we need transparency, we need free and fair elections. So for me, I think I would want, because when you talk of parallel, it means they can, parallel is the same. I mean, so we, whether it is our teams or the teams of the opposition, we must avoid a situation where we are giving Kenyans results as if those results are the authentic results of the elections, because that will definitely cause conflict in this country. And we don't want to go back to that 2007 and 2008. And we cannot say enough about not going to 2007 and 2008. We must continue to repeat and say it is wrong for a country to be messed up because of elections. However, elections also means that we must do them proper and fair, and fairly. Then the question of, I think that we do have a problem in terms of acknowledging each other sometimes because of the suspicions. The position taken by, of course, the ODM is that maybe the leader of opposition, or majority, not actually opposition, I think that the minority is minority. The minority leader, there must have been, in my view, I mean, I want to understand, because ordinarily he has been acknowledged, he has been entertained in meetings, public national meetings, but there must have been a breach of protocol or of presence in terms of, because that's also a national event. And for him to visit and to be present, it is true he's not any other person, because he's the leader of my minority. So there must be some form of expectation, invitation. He is the leader of, that's what I'm saying, he's the leader of the coalition. He is the leader in parliament, but he leads the minority coalition in this country. And therefore, for me, for him to appear, I don't know, I'm suspecting myself. Because we have to make some intelligent guesses here, because I was not present in Nyeri myself. But I want to imagine that for him to be present, the protocol, the managers of the program must be aware that he is coming, so that they can slot him properly. So
you think they're not aware?
So either it was, his presence was not expected, or there must have been disagreement in how the issue will be managed. And you see, we don't want to start showing Kenyans now again conflict at the national stage on a national day. It's clearly the head of state's day in terms of the country.
Maybe Balozi, you can, of course.
But we need to handle it better in the future.
Right.
And
in diplomacy, they say it's not that you just show up. Also follow through is very important. So the fact that he was not maybe part of the program and he showed up, what about the follow-through that was not actually given, due diligence?
Well, I must confess,
very briefly.
Protocol is important, but I must confess that I have no details about this issue. I was not in Nyeri. And I think I'll be the wrong person to comment on this.
But the perception, the
no,
whole
there is
gesture,
you see,
you can weigh in on that, truly.
I've served in diplomacy, right? And it's unwise to comment about things you don't know. Even the thing you're talking about tallying, for instance, I've not read the paper, I've not seen the point of where we are coming from.
So this will be the DPO speak for me.
Talking about parallel tallying centers, I agree very much with what Alice Wahome has said about the word parallel being left out. But on the protocols in Nyeri on Madaraka Day, I think I'll be the wrong person to comment on it at this point in time.
All right, thank you.